The moment that stopped time wasn't her speech. It was what I did next. I slid my wedding ring off, set it down like a full stop, and walked out while a room still clapped. I didn't plead or rage. I went quiet and made decisions. By the time she realized her upgrade had consequences, I'd already sealed accounts, changed locks, documented everything, and started building a life that didn't need her permission. This wasn't revenge for show. It was a calm, surgical undoing of the life she thought she could keep on standby. Stick around. You'll see how silence can be the most devastating kind of power.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Before we dive into this absolutely wild story, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where your entire world just stops? Like time freezes and you know nothing will ever be the same again? Well, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind. Picture this. A woman tells her husband she needs a break from their marriage. Just some space to think, she says. No big deal, right? Wrong. Because what she's really asking for is permission to explore her affair while keeping him as a safety net, her backup plan, her insurance policy in case things don't work out with the other guy. But here's where it gets insane. This dude doesn't cry, doesn't beg, doesn't fall apart. Nah, he looks her dead in the eye and says, "You want a break? I'll give you one, a permanent one." And then he systematically dismantles everything she thought she had control over. By the time she realizes what's happening, it's too late. The doors are locked, the house is sold, and her temporary break just became the biggest mistake of her life. If you want to see how this man turned his wife's betrayal into the most epic comeback story you've ever heard, smash that subscribe button right now, because this ending is absolutely perfect. Let's get into it. So we're talking about a couple who'd been together for 10 years. 10 years. That's a whole decade of building a life together. And they're sitting at their kitchen table on this rainy evening. The husband just got home from a brutal 12-hour shift. Dude's exhausted, right? His wife made dinner, but she hasn't touched hers. She's just sitting there, staring at her plate while he's already finished eating. Something's off. You can feel it in the air. That tension that makes your stomach knot up. Then she says it, those words that make his world stop spinning for exactly 5 seconds. "I'm taking a break from our marriage." 5 seconds, that's how long time stands still before everything starts moving again. But when it does, everything moves differently, like the whole universe just shifted on its axis. "A break?" he asks, and his voice is surprisingly calm even though there's an earthquake happening in his chest. What exactly does that mean? She can't even look him in the eyes. Her fingers are tracing the edge of her wine glass, her second glass since he got home, by the way. Red flag number 1. "I just need space to figure things out, to see if this is what I really want." And that's when he notices it. Her phone is face down on the table. It's buzzed 3 times during their conversation, and every single time her eyes dart toward it with this mixture of anxiety and anticipation, like she's desperate to check it but knows she shouldn't. That look tells him everything he needs to know. There's someone else, isn't there? The words leave his mouth before he can stop them, and her silence, that's all the confirmation he needs. 15 seconds pass. They feel like 15 years. Finally, she nods. Just this tiny little movement of her head, but it confirms everything. "It's not what you think," she says. And bro, if you've ever been cheated on, you know that phrase. It's not what you think. That's like the official slogan of cheaters everywhere. It's in the handbook they all read. "How long?" he asks. Simple question, direct. 2 months, she replies. Then she hits him with this. "But it's complicated. I'm confused about what I want." 2 months. Let that sink in for a second. While this man was working overtime to fund the vacation she had been planning for them, while he was surprising her with flowers and planning their anniversary dinner, while he was still foolishly believing they were building a future together, she was building a whole other relationship behind his back. In that moment, something clicks for him. It's like ice water washing over his brain, and suddenly everything becomes crystal clear. All those little weird things that didn't make sense before, they make perfect sense now. The sudden password changes on her phone, the girls' nights that ran suspiciously late, the new clothes she bought but never wore around him, the way their intimacy had been slowly decreasing over the past few months. All of it. Every single red flag he'd brushed aside was screaming at him now. "I'm not asking for a divorce," she says quickly, misreading his silence as him actually considering her request. "Just some time apart to clear my head. Maybe a few weeks. We can tell everyone we're just taking a short break." And that's when he understands what she's really asking for. She doesn't want space to figure things out. She wants permission to fully explore her affair without losing the safety net of their marriage. She wants to test drive this new relationship while keeping him parked in the garage, ready to hop back in if things don't work out. If her affair partner doesn't commit, if the fantasy doesn't live up to reality, if things get complicated, she can always come back to him, her reliable backup plan, her consolation prize. Looking at her across that table, he realizes something that hits him harder than the confession itself. He doesn't recognize this person anymore. The woman he loved, the woman he married, would never have been this calculating, would never have tried to keep him on hold while she shopped around for something better. "I understand completely," he says, and his composure surprises both of them. "You need space, you need time." Relief floods her face like she just won the lottery. She reaches across the table for his hand. "Thank you for understanding. I knew you would. This doesn't have to change everything." He lets her touch his hand, but he feels absolutely nothing. That connection that used to send electricity through his body, gone, severed. In its place is this cold, rational determination. "I'm right," he says, standing up from the table. "This doesn't have to change everything." Her face lights up with hope. It's going to change absolutely everything. Her expression shifts from relief to straight-up confusion as he walks calmly toward their bedroom. She's following him now, asking what he means, what he's doing, but he's already made his decision. If she wants a break, he'll give her one. Permanent, irreversible. That night, he sleeps in the guest room. For the first time in 10 years of marriage, they're sleeping in separate beds. And it's not because of a fight or because someone's sick. It's because their marriage just died at that kitchen table, and she doesn't even know it yet. The next morning, while she's still asleep, he does something he hasn't done in 3 years. He calls in sick to work. First time in 3 years, man. Because he's got appointments to make. He's got a new future to plan, one that doesn't include someone who sees him as an option rather than a priority. The break she asked for? It's about to become the biggest regret of her life. Because while she's trying to keep her options open, he's closing doors she never expected to find locked. The vacation from their marriage she wanted? He's about to make it permanent. So, the next morning comes and this dude is watching her get ready for work. She's putting on this performance that deserves an Oscar, bro. Everything's normal. Everything's fine. She kisses him on the cheek before leaving, just like always, promising to talk more about everything that evening. He nods, smiles, already knowing exactly where she's going. Straight to him. As soon as her car pulls out of the driveway, he goes into full action mode. First call, the top divorce attorney in the city. The one with a reputation for being ruthlessly effective. The one everyone whispers about. The receptionist tells him the first available appointment is 3 weeks out. 3 weeks! But when he mentions suspected infidelity and says he's willing to pay a premium for urgency, a slot mysteriously opens up that very afternoon. Funny how that works, right? Before heading to the attorney's office that afternoon, he lays everything out on the desk. The lawyer, this sharp-eyed woman who's clearly seen this scenario 1,000 times, nods methodically as he speaks. "You're doing the right thing by acting quickly," she says. "Most people in your position waste weeks or months in denial or trying to salvage what's already broken." The lawyer leans back in her chair and gets real with him. By then, assets have often mysteriously disappeared. You need to protect yourself now. On her advice, he opens a separate bank account that same day, transfers half of their joint savings into it. Just half. He leaves the other half untouched. He's not trying to screw her over or be petty. He's just protecting what's his. Next move? He removes her as an authorized user from his personal credit cards, cards that he pays for but had given her access to for emergencies. Well, funding an affair isn't exactly the kind of emergency he had in mind. That evening when she comes home, she's literally glowing, like radiating happiness in a way that has absolutely nothing to do with him. The guilt is there, buried beneath her smile, but she's trying to hide it. "Did you have a good day?" she asks, all casual. "Productive," he answers, and he's not lying. "How was your day?" "Busy," she says, another truth wrapped in deception. "I had lunch with a colleague to discuss a project." He nods, wondering if her colleague knows about the secret credit card he discovered she'd opened 3 months ago, the one with charges for lingerie he's never seen and hotel rooms he's never entered. For the next week, they exist in this bizarre dance. She thinks he's processing her request for space while still holding out hope for their marriage. Meanwhile, he's systematically dismantling every legal and financial connection that binds them together. When she mentions moving temporarily to her sister's place to think, he actually encourages her. "Take all the time you need," he says, and he means every word, just not in the way she interprets it. The truth, it'll make serving the divorce papers way easier if she's not living under the same roof. The day she packs her suitcase, trying to look all conflicted about her decision, he helps carry her bags to the car. He's being the supportive husband, the understanding partner, but inside, he's counting down the minutes until she's gone. "Take all the time you need," he tells her again as she loads up her car. She tears up a little, probably feeling guilty, or maybe just performing for him. "Thank you for being so understanding about this." Understanding. Right. With her gone, he kicks everything into high gear. He meets with a financial advisor to understand the implications of disentangling their investments. He consults with a real estate agent about potentially selling their house or buying out her share. He even schedules an appointment with a therapist, not to save the marriage, but to make sure he's processing this betrayal in healthy ways. Throughout all this, she's calling and texting regularly, maintaining the illusion that this is just a temporary separation. Her messages bounce between casual updates about her day and these philosophical musings about appreciating what we have. Not once does she mention the man she's seeing, but his private investigator, yeah, he hired one on his lawyer's recommendation, has photographed them together multiple times. Dinner dates, coffee meetups, walking hand in hand through the park, the whole 9 yards. 17 days after she asked for a break, everything is in place. The divorce papers are prepared, evidence of her infidelity is documented and organized. His separate life is taking shape in ways she hasn't even begun to imagine. That evening, she calls with a suggestion. "Maybe we should meet for dinner? Check in on how we're both feeling." Her voice has this tentative quality to it that makes him wonder if things with her lover aren't going as smoothly as she'd hoped. Maybe the fantasy is starting to crack. Maybe the affair partner isn't as perfect as she thought. "Dinner sounds perfect," he agrees. "I have some thoughts to share about our situation." Oh, he's got thoughts, all right. As he hangs up, he feels this strange calm wash over him. The pain hasn't disappeared, it's still there, but it's transformed into something else, a determined resolve to reclaim his dignity and his future. She asked for a break from their marriage, thinking she could dictate the terms of their separation and potential reunion. But the terms have changed, and tomorrow at dinner she's about to discover exactly how permanent her requested break is about to become. He arrives at the restaurant 20 minutes early. Picks a table in the corner that offers privacy but is still in a public space. The choice is tactical. He doesn't want a scene, but he also doesn't want to be completely alone with her when the truth explodes. She walks in looking better than she has in months. New haircut, new dress, clearly not dressed up for him. When she spots him, her smile falters slightly, like she didn't actually expect him to be there. That tiny reaction confirms what he already suspected. Part of her was hoping he'd cancel so she could claim she tried while continuing her affair uninterrupted. "You look nice," he says as she sits down. And he means it. She's always been beautiful. That hasn't changed. What has changed is the meaning of that beauty to him. Now it feels like admiring a poisonous flower. Pretty to look at, but deadly to touch. "Thank you," she replies, genuinely pleased by the compliment.
It's good to see you. I've been doing a lot of thinking during this time apart. He nods, letting her continue. The waiter comes to take their drink orders. He chooses water. She orders wine. Of course. I think this separation has been healthy, she continues once the waiter leaves. It's given me perspective on us, on what matters. His briefcase sits beside him, containing everything that will end this charade. But he lets her talk. He's curious to see how far she'll go with this performance. I miss certain things about our life together, she admits, reaching across the table to touch his hand. He doesn't pull away, but he doesn't reciprocate either. His hand just sits there, passive. The stability, she continues, the history we share. No one knows we like you do. The unspoken truth hangs in the air like smoke. Her lover knows her in ways this man doesn't, intimately, carnally. But apparently he's not offering what her husband provides, security, reliability, a safety net for when the passion cools. How's your friend? He asks casually, watching her face. Friend? She echoes, confusion crossing her features. Colleague you've been having lunch with, the project you've been working on together. He pauses, then delivers the hammer. At the downtown Marriott and the West Side Boutique Hotel, in your car in the office parking garage after everyone else went home. The color drains from her face like someone pulled a plug.
You've been following me? She asks, and now there's anger creeping into her voice. I didn't have to, he replies, keeping his tone level and calm. You left a trail even an amateur could follow. Her expression morphs from shock to anger to something else, maybe embarrassment, maybe fear. You went through my things? Yes, he admits without a shred of shame. After you asked for a break from our marriage while actively sleeping with someone else, I decided the normal rules no longer applied. The waiter returns with their drinks, pausing awkwardly as he senses the tension crackling between them like electricity. After he leaves, she leans forward, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. It's not what you think. It got complicated. I was confused. And here we go with the excuses. Confusion would be kissing someone once, he says. What you did was make thousands of deliberate choices day after day to betray everything we built together. She tries a different approach. Her eyes start welling up with tears, the classic move. I made a terrible mistake. These weeks apart have shown me what really matters. I want to come home. We can work through this. He wonders what happened with her lover. Did the guy get tired of her? Did he reveal he had no intention of leaving his own relationship? Or is she simply hedging her bets, keeping her husband on standby while continuing to explore her options? I have something for you, he says, opening his briefcase. He removes the envelope and places it on the table between them. It sits there like a bomb waiting to detonate. What's this? She asks, though he thinks she already knows. You can see it in her eyes, the dawning realization that this dinner isn't going the way she planned. Divorce papers, he says simply. My attorney advised serving them formally, but I thought you deserved the courtesy of receiving them directly from me. She stares at the envelope like it might bite her. Divorce? But I thought we were taking a break to figure things out. You were taking a break to see if your affair partner would commit to you. I've been using this time to figure out my path forward, and it doesn't include someone who sees me as a backup plan. That's not fair, she protests, tears flowing freely now. I made one mistake. 63, he interrupts. She blinks. What? 63 separate meetings with him that I could document, spanning 14 weeks. That's 63 deliberate decisions to betray me. Not one mistake, 63. Her hand shakes as she finally picks up the envelope. The weight of her choices is literally in her hands now. I never wanted this. I just needed time to think. And I needed a wife who wouldn't sleep with another man while keeping me as insurance. Looks like neither of us got what we wanted. She opens the envelope, her eyes widening as she scans the first page. You're citing adultery. You're planning to make this public? I'm planning to be honest. Something you might want to try.
The reality of the situation finally seems to hit her. Her carefully constructed plan to explore an affair while keeping her marriage as a fallback is collapsing right in front of her eyes. The temporary break she orchestrated is becoming a permanent rupture. We should at least try counseling, she insists, desperation creeping into her voice. We owe our marriage that much. Our marriage ended the first time you met him in a hotel, he says quietly. You just didn't bother to tell me. As they sit in that restaurant with untouched food and the legal dissolution of their union between them, he realizes something surprising. The pain he expected to overwhelm him isn't there. In its place is this strange sense of freedom. Not happiness, not yet, but this quiet certainty that he's finally taking control of his own life. She continues to alternate between anger, tears, and negotiations as the evening wears on, but with each passing minute, her words hold less and less power over him. The break she asked for is becoming exactly what he needs, a permanent vacation from a relationship built on lies. The weeks following their restaurant confrontation unfold like a predictable drama. She refuses to sign the papers that night, insisting they need to talk more before making such permanent decisions. He agrees to talk, but makes it crystal clear that his decision is final. 3 days later, his phone explodes with messages from mutual friends and her family members. Apparently, she launched a full-scale campaign, telling everyone that he's having a midlife crisis and overreacting to what she described as a minor indiscretion. According to her revised narrative, it was just a kiss. Only happened once. She's the victim here. He doesn't engage with the flying monkeys she sends his way. To people who genuinely seem concerned, he simply says, there are two sides to every story, and I'm choosing not to share the details out of respect for privacy. Most people get the message and back off. The few who persist in telling him how he should forgive her mistake are politely but firmly removed from his life. He doesn't need that energy. 23 days after serving the papers, he gets a call from her sister. The sister's always been more reasonable than the rest of the family. She's a mess, the sister says without preamble. He feels nothing but detached curiosity. I'm sorry to hear she's struggling. He broke things off with her. And there it is. The revelation hits him, but not in the way it might have weeks ago. Her affair partner was apparently never planning to leave his wife, just stringing her along. He was married? He asked. Yeah, he was apparently never planning to leave his wife, just stringing her along. The revelation that her affair partner was also married adds a whole new layer of disgust to her betrayal. She was willing to break up another family while destroying her own. Does she want me to feel sorry for her? He asked. She wants another chance. She says she's learned her lesson. He laughs despite himself. Her lesson was that her backup plan became necessary sooner than expected. That's not remorse, that's inconvenience.
2 days later, she shows up at the house unannounced. He changed the locks. Smart move. But she's sitting on the front steps when he returns from the gym. Her eyes are red from crying. Her normally immaculate appearance is disheveled. She looks like she's been through hell, and honestly, she probably has been. Can we talk? She asks, standing as he approaches. We can talk right here, he replies, staying on the walkway, maintaining distance. He's not letting her back into his space. I made the biggest mistake of my life, she begins, her voice breaking. I was stupid and selfish. I threw away something precious for something meaningless. Meaningless enough that you did it 63 times, he reminds her. She flinches but continues. I know I hurt you beyond words, but people make terrible mistakes and still find a way back to each other. We could try counseling, a fresh start. Why? He asks simply. The question seems to confuse her. What? Why do you want to save this marriage now? What changed? She doesn't answer immediately, which tells him everything. Eventually, she says, I realized what really matters. You realized he wasn't leaving his wife, he corrects her. You realized the fantasy wasn't real, and suddenly the husband you were willing to discard became valuable again. That's not fair, she protests. You're right, he agrees. None of this is fair, but it is accurate. Her desperation increases visibly. I'll do anything, complete transparency, counseling, whatever it takes.
It would take a time machine, he says. It would take erasing the moment you decided I was worth less than your desires. It would take undoing the thousands of lies you told to my face while looking me in the eyes. Technology hasn't advanced that far yet. She tries a different approach, stepping closer. Don't you remember how good we were together before all this? We can find that again. For just the moment, nostalgia threatens to weaken his resolve. There had been good times, great times even, but they seem like scenes from someone else's life now, viewed through a fogged window. The problem isn't that I can't remember the good times, he explains. It's that I'll never be able to forget the betrayal. Every business trip, every late night at work, every time you look at your phone and smile, I'll be wondering, that's no way to live. People rebuild trust, she insists. It happens all the time. Good for them. I'm not interested in spending the next decade of my life looking over my shoulder in my own marriage. Her expression hardens slightly. The mask is slipping. So that's it? 10 years thrown away without even trying to save it? You threw it away, he says firmly. I'm just acknowledging what's already broken. As she realizes her emotional appeals aren't working, she shifts strategies again. You'll regret this, she warns, anger seeping into her voice. You'll realize what you lost, and it'll be too late. He considers her words carefully before responding. Maybe, but right now, the only thing I regret is not seeing you clearly sooner.
She leaves eventually, after cycling through more tears, recriminations, and promises of change. That night, she sends a text saying she'll sign the papers if he truly feels there's no hope. He responds with a single word, yes. 2 days later, her lawyer contacts his. She's willing to agree to most terms, but suddenly has concerns about the division of assets. Apparently, now that her affair has collapsed and divorce is imminent, financial considerations have become paramount. His attorney isn't surprised at all. This is when the reality of consequences typically sets in, she explains. The emotional appeal failed, so now it becomes about maximizing what can be salvaged financially. He instructs his lawyer to be firm but fair. He's not interested in punishing her through the divorce settlement. The consequences of her choices will unfold in her life without his assistance. She's doing a good enough job destroying herself. The negotiation process stretches over several more weeks. During this time, she makes 3 more attempts to talk sense into him. Once, through an ambush at his workplace, she literally shows up at his office, embarrassing herself in front of his colleagues. Once, via a handwritten letter detailing all the ways she would make things right, complete with promises he knows she can't keep. And once, through a mutual friend who invited them both to dinner without telling either of them the other would be there. Talk about awkward. None of it moves him. The break she asked for has become a clean fracture. Painful in the moment, sure, but necessary for proper healing. As the legal process moves toward conclusion, he focuses on rebuilding his life without looking back. One day at a time, one choice at a time, each decision reclaiming a piece of himself. The divorce is finalized on a Tuesday morning. He doesn't even attend the final court proceedings. His attorney handles everything. When she calls to tell him it's officially over, he's in the middle of a project meeting at work. He thanks her, ends the call, and continues with his presentation as if he hadn't just closed a decade-long chapter of his life. That evening, alone in the house they once shared, he waits for the emotional tsunami to hit. The grief, the anger, the regret, any of the feelings the self-help books warned might overwhelm him. Instead, he feels a profound sense of peace, like the quiet after a violent storm has finally passed. He pours himself a glass of whiskey, not to drown sorrows, but to toast new beginnings. Then he walks through each room of the house, saying goodbye to the memories, good and bad. The real estate agent had already scheduled showings for the weekend. Soon, this place that witnessed both their happiest moments and most painful betrayals would belong to someone else. A fresh start for everyone. The next day, he receives a text from her. "I hope you're satisfied." No congratulations on the divorce, no well wishes for his future. Just bitterness that her actions had actual consequences. He doesn't respond.
3 hours later, another message arrives. "I'm sorry, that wasn't fair. I hope you find happiness." This one seems more genuine, probably sent after a friend told her how petty the first message sounded. Again, he doesn't respond. There's nothing left to say.
The first month of post-divorce life passes in a blur of practical matters. Selling the house, dividing the remaining possessions that weren't covered in the settlement, changing addresses on dozens of accounts, explaining to distant acquaintances why she's not at social gatherings anymore. Through mutual friends, he hears she moved to an apartment downtown, close to her office. He also hears she's been on several dates already, apparently determined to prove to herself, and maybe to him, that she's desirable and can easily move on. The information washes. The first month of post-divorce life passes in a blur of practical matters. Selling the house, dividing the remaining possessions that weren't covered in the settlement, changing addresses on dozens of accounts, explaining to distant acquaintances why she's not at social gatherings anymore. Through mutual friends, he hears she moved to an apartment downtown, close to her office. He also hears she's been on several dates already, apparently determined to prove to herself, and maybe to him, that she's desirable and can easily move on. The information washes over him without sticking. Her life is no longer his concern. That chapter is closed, and he's writing new pages now. 6 weeks after the divorce, he takes his first real step toward building his new life. He signs up for a wilderness photography workshop, something he'd always wanted to do, but had repeatedly postponed because she had zero interest in spending weekends in remote locations without cell service or luxury accommodations. In the mountains, surrounded by strangers who know nothing of his past, he rediscovers parts of himself that had been dormant for years. He stays up late discussing philosophy around campfires. He wakes before dawn to capture the perfect light. He pushes his physical limits on challenging trails. Each experience feels like reclaiming territory in his own soul that had been ceded during his marriage. When he returns to civilization, he has dozens of spectacular photos and something even more valuable, a renewed sense of identity separate from his role as a husband. He's not just a man recovering from betrayal. He's a photographer, a hiker, a conversationalist, a person with passions and interests of his own. The second month brings an unexpected challenge. Her parents, with whom he'd always had a good relationship, reach out to invite him to dinner. They'd always treated him like a son, and the divorce had been difficult for them too. After some consideration, he accepts. Over a somewhat awkward meal, they express their disappointment in their daughter's choices and their continuing affection for him. They don't try to broker a reconciliation, which he appreciates. Instead, they simply want to maintain some connection, to assure him that family relations don't always have to be severed along with marital ones. "She's struggling," her father mentions as the evening concludes. "Not that you need to worry about that anymore, but she knows what she lost." "I hope she finds her way," he says, meaning it sincerely. Despite everything, he doesn't wish her ill. He just no longer wishes to be the solution to her problems. As the months pass, he establishes new routines. Thursday night photography club, Sunday morning hiking with a group he met through an app, regular dinners with friends who stood by him during the divorce, therapy sessions that gradually decrease in frequency as both he and his counselor recognize he's processing the betrayal in healthy ways. The house sells for more than expected, providing a financial cushion that allows him to consider new possibilities. He uses part of the proceeds to book a 3-week photography expedition to Iceland, another dream deferred during his marriage. The rest goes into investments and a down payment on a smaller place that's entirely his, decorated to his tastes without compromise. Life is becoming his own again.
Throughout this period, his ex-wife's attempts to reconnect continue, though with diminishing frequency. It's like watching a signal fade out over time. Text messages on holidays, an email asking if he wants some books she found that belongs to him. Once, flowers delivered to his office on what would have been their anniversary, with a card saying simply, "I think about you every day." He responds politely but briefly to the practical communications, stuff about the books or dividing remaining items. The sentimental ones, he ignores completely. Each contact affects him less than the last, like an echo gradually fading into silence. 8 months after the divorce, he attends a friend's wedding, alone. At the reception, several people express surprise at how well he seems to be doing. One particularly candid friend admits, "When you first told us about the divorce, we were taking bets on how long before you took her back. None of us guessed never." His comment makes him realize how much he's changed. The man he was before would have likely forgiven the unforgivable, accepted the unacceptable, all in the name of preserving a relationship that existed more in memory than reality. That man is gone, dead and buried. In his place stands someone stronger, with clearer boundaries and a deeper understanding of his own worth. Someone who recognizes that while love involves sacrifice, it should never require surrendering your dignity or accepting betrayal as the price of admission. The permanent vacation from his marriage, the one she inadvertently initiated when she asked for a break, has become the most transformative journey of his life. Not because he's seeking someone new, but because he's finally found himself. A year passes, then another, then a third. 3 years after finalizing the divorce, he barely recognizes his former life. The career he dutifully maintained during his marriage has transformed into something far more fulfilling. He's parlayed his photography hobby into a side business that's now generating enough income to consider pursuing it full-time. His social circle has expanded beyond what he thought possible, filled with people who know him only as he is now, not as half of a failed marriage. The dating scene had initially intimidated him. After a decade with one person, the rules seemed to have changed entirely. But he approached it with the same mindset that carried him through the divorce: authenticity and firm boundaries. He dated casually at first, then more seriously with a few women who intrigued him on multiple levels. None have developed into a lasting relationship yet, but each connection teaches him something valuable about what he truly wants in a partner. He's learning what he actually needs versus what he thought he needed, and there's a huge difference. On a crisp autumn morning, he's meeting a client at an upscale coffee shop downtown to discuss a potential photography project. He arrives early, secures a table by the window, and is reviewing portfolio samples on his tablet when he senses someone hovering nearby. Looking up, he finds himself staring into a face he hasn't seen in person for over 2 years. His ex-wife. The shock of recognition must register on his face because she immediately says, "I'm sorry, I didn't know you'd be here. I can go somewhere else."
3 years earlier, this encounter would have shattered his composure for days, maybe weeks. Now, he feels only mild surprise, like bumping into a former colleague from a job long past. "No need," he replies calmly. "It's a public place." She hesitates, then gestures to the chair across from him. "Do you mind if I say hello properly, just for a minute?" He nods, closing his tablet and setting it aside. As she sits down, he takes in the changes time has wrought. She looks older, more worn around the edges. Designer clothes and professional makeup can't quite hide the subtle signs of stress etched around her eyes and mouth. Life hasn't been kind to her, apparently. "You look good," she says, studying him with an intensity that once would have made him uncomfortable. "Really good, actually." "Thank you," he replies simply. "How have you been?" She gives a short, humorless laugh. "Honestly, not great, but I'm working on it." She pauses, glancing around the coffee shop. "Are you waiting for someone?" "A client. I have a meeting in about 20 minutes. Her eyebrows rise slightly. "A photography client? You're doing that professionally now?" "Starting to. I still have my day job, but the photography business has taken off more than I expected." Something like genuine happiness flickers across her face. "That's wonderful. You always had an amazing eye. I'm glad you're finally using it." The conversation lulls into awkward silence. They're two people with a shared past but no shared future. The connection between them severed by her choices and his response to them. I heard you moved. Your parents mentioned you bought a place near the lake. The fact that she still speaks with his parents is mildly surprising, but not upsetting. They're adults who can maintain whatever relationships they choose. Yes, about a year ago. It's perfect for me. She nods, her fingers toying with a napkin on the table. I'm moving too, actually. Got a job offer in Boston. I start next month. Congratulations, he says, and means it. That sounds like a good opportunity. It is. A fresh start. She pauses, then adds quietly, something I've needed for a while. Another silence falls between them, this one charged with unspoken words. Finally, she leans forward slightly. I've wanted to tell you something for a long time, but I didn't want to intrude on your life with a call or text out of the blue. Since we've run into each other, she takes a deep breath. I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Not just for the affair, but for how I handled everything. For trying to keep you as a backup plan. For not appreciating what we had until I destroyed it. You deserved better. 3 years ago, he desperately wanted to hear these words. He'd imagined scenarios where she apologized sincerely and he magnanimously forgave her. Now, her apology feels like a postscript to a story that already concluded. Thank you for saying that, he replies evenly. I hope you found some peace with it all. She studies his face, perhaps searching for the traces of the man who would have done anything to win her back. That man is long gone.
Not entirely, she admits, but I'm working on that too. Therapy helps. He nods, glancing at his watch. His client will arrive soon, and this conversation has already traveled as far as it needs to go. Noticing his gesture, she stands up. I should let you prepare for your meeting. Thank you for talking with me. As she gathers her things, she hesitates. Then she asks the question that's probably been eating at her for 3 years. Are you happy? Truly happy? The question deserves an honest answer. Yes, he says without hesitation. Not every day, of course. Life still has its challenges. But overall, yes, I'm happier than I've been in a very long time. Something in her expression shifts, a complex emotion he can't quite identify. Perhaps regret, maybe resignation, or simply acceptance. I'm glad, she says softly. You deserve that. As she turns to leave, she pauses one last time. The break I asked for, it wasn't supposed to end like this. He considers her words carefully before responding. Maybe not for you, but for me, it ended exactly as it needed to. She nods slowly, accepting this final truth between them. Goodbye, she says simply, and walks away. Watching her disappear into the crowd outside the coffee shop window, he realizes he feels no longing, no regret, no anger, just a calm acknowledgement of a chapter conclusively closed. His client arrives 5 minutes later, full of enthusiasm for her upcoming project. As they discuss concepts and locations, his encounter with his ex-wife recedes into the background, becoming just another event in a day otherwise filled with purpose and possibility. That evening, he's relaxing on the deck of his lakeside home with a glass of wine. The sun is setting, painting the water in shades of orange and gold, a photographer's dream, and he reflects on the strange symmetry of life. Her request for a break from their marriage had initially devastated him, absolutely destroyed him, but ultimately, it freed him. The permanent vacation he'd defiantly declared in response to her betrayal had become not a spiteful exit, but a journey toward an authenticity he might never have discovered otherwise. The break she requested had broken them completely, there's no denying that. But in that breaking, something stronger had formed, not a relationship, but a self. A life built not on dependencies and compromises that eroded his core, but on choices that honored who he truly was. He thinks about all the things he's done in the past 3 years, the places he's traveled, the photographs he's taken, the people he's met, the dreams he's pursued without asking permission or compromising.
He thinks about waking up in his own space, decorated exactly how he wants it, going to bed without wondering where she is or who she's with, making decisions based solely on what he wants, not what keeps the peace or makes someone else happy. The freedom is intoxicating. And yeah, sometimes he gets lonely. Sometimes he wishes he had someone to share these moments with, but he'd rather be alone and authentic than partnered and pretending. The permanent vacation continues, and honestly, he's never been happier. The break she asked for turned into the best thing that ever happened to him. 6 months after that unexpected coffee shop encounter, he's standing in a gallery showcasing his work. His work! An actual exhibition featuring 20 of his best landscape and wildlife photographs, each one representing a moment of freedom he captured during his journey back to himself. The opening night is packed. Friends, colleagues, photography club members, and complete strangers who saw the listing and decided to check it out. The energy in the room is electric, and he's absorbing every moment of this validation he never knew he needed. He's mid-conversation with a collector interested in purchasing one of his Iceland series prints when he notices her across the room. Not his ex-wife, someone new. Someone who's been standing in front of his favorite photograph for at least 10 minutes, completely absorbed. The image is of a mountain peak at dawn, half shrouded in mist, with the first rays of sunlight breaking through the clouds. He'd titled it Emergence. It was taken during that first solo trip after his divorce, when he was just beginning to understand who he was without the weight of betrayal crushing him. She's tall, with dark hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. Dressed casually in jeans and a simple sweater, she stands in sharp contrast to the more formally dressed gallery attendees. But there's something about the way she's studying the photograph, this intensity of focus that draws his attention. The collector excuses himself to take a call, and almost without conscious decision, he finds himself walking toward her. "What do you see?" he asks softly, not wanting to startle her. She turns, and her eyes are striking, intelligent and warm. "Honestly, I see someone finding themselves." She gestures to the photograph. "This isn't just about the mountain, it's about the photographer. The way the light breaks through the darkness, the way the peak emerges from the mist, it feels like a metaphor." He's stunned into momentary silence. Most people comment on the technical aspects or the beauty of the landscape. She's seeing something deeper. "That's exactly what it was," he admits. "I took this 3 years ago during a pretty transformative time in my life." She extends her hand. "I'm Maya, and you must be the artist. Your name's on all these incredible pieces." Her handshake is firm, confident. "Guilty as charged," he says with a smile. "What brings you to the gallery tonight?" "I'm a writer. I've been working on a book about finding authenticity after loss, and a friend suggested I check out your work. She said your photographs tell stories about transformation." Maya pauses, looking back at the mountain photograph. She wasn't wrong. They talk for 20 minutes that feel like 5. She tells him about her book, a memoir about rebuilding her life after her own divorce 2 years ago. He tells her about his journey from corporate photography on weekends to potentially making it his full-time career. There's an ease to their conversation that surprises him. No performance, no careful navigation of potential landmines, just 2 people who've both been through hell and came out the other side, comparing notes on what they learned in the fire. "I'd love to feature some of your work in my book," Maya says eventually, "if you're interested. The publisher is looking for visual elements that complement the narrative themes." It's a professional opportunity, nothing more, but when she hands him her business card and their fingers briefly touch, he feels something he hasn't felt in years. Not the desperate intensity of his marriage, but something quieter, more grounded, a spark of possibility. "I'd like that," he says, pocketing the card. "Let's set up a meeting to discuss it properly." She smiles, and it reaches her eyes. "I'd like that too." 3 months after the gallery opening, he's sitting across from Maya at a waterfront restaurant, supposedly reviewing photograph selections for her book. Instead, they've spent 40 minutes talking about everything else: childhoods, travel disasters, whether pineapple belongs on pizza. This is their 5th meeting,
The first 3 were legitimately professional. The 4th blurred into a 3-hour dinner. And this one? They stopped pretending it was about work 20 minutes in. Okay, confession time, Maya says, setting down her wine glass. I finished selecting the photographs 2 weeks ago. I've just been finding excuses to meet up. He laughs, warmth spreading through his chest. I know, your publisher approved everything last Wednesday. You mentioned it in an email. You noticed that? She looks genuinely surprised. I notice everything about you, he admits, then wonders if that sounds too intense. But Maya's expression softens rather than retreats. After my ex-husband, who barely noticed when I changed my entire hair color, being seen feels revolutionary. There it is again, that shared understanding. They've both been with people who stopped seeing them, stopped choosing them. The difference is they're determined not to repeat those patterns. So what are we doing here? He asks directly, because this doesn't feel professional anymore. Maya considers carefully. She never rushes responses. I'm terrified, she finally says, genuinely terrified of getting this wrong. My divorce left me with trust issues, commitment issues, hypervigilance that makes me analyze everything for red flags. She pauses. But healing doesn't mean closing yourself off forever. It means learning to trust your judgment again. And what's your judgment telling you? That you're different. That what I feel with you is different, not desperate, anxious attachment like with my ex. It's calmer, more grounded, like 2 whole people choosing to spend time together, not 2 broken people trying to fix each other. He recognizes the truth in her words. I feel that too, but I'm also scared. My ex-wife destroyed my ability to trust. I've worked hard to rebuild myself. I don't want to lose that. What if you don't have to? Maya leans forward. What if we build something that adds to who we are individually rather than consuming us? What if we go slowly, communicate honestly, and maintain our separate lives while exploring this connection? It sounds too healthy, too different from his codependent marriage. I'd like to try that, but I need you to know I have boundaries now, non-negotiable ones. I won't compromise myself again, not even for someone I care about. Good, Maya responds immediately. I wouldn't want you to. Boundaries are healthy. They're necessary. They talk for 2 more hours, establishing what this might look like, taking things slowly, complete honesty even when uncomfortable, addressing unhealthy patterns immediately rather than letting resentment build. It feels mature, intentional, everything his previous relationship wasn't. Over the next 2 months, they fall into an easy rhythm. Wednesday dinners, weekend hikes with their cameras, lazy Sunday mornings at farmers markets. But they also maintain independence. His Thursday photography club, her monthly writing retreats. No constant texting or accounting for every moment apart. One evening at his lake house, she's reading on his couch while he edits photographs. Companionable silence, no pressure to entertain each other. Maya suddenly looks up. Can I ask you something personal? Always. Do you ever think about her, your ex-wife? Sometimes, I answer honestly, mostly when reflecting on how far I've come. She's a reference point for measuring my growth, but I don't miss her. I don't wonder what could have been. Do you think you've forgiven her? He considers carefully. I've released the anger. I don't wish her harm, but forgiveness feels wrong. It's more like acceptance. She is who she is. She made her choices. They taught me what I needed to learn. Maya nods. My therapist says forgiveness is overrated, that sometimes the healthiest thing is accepting what happened and moving forward without absolving the person who hurt you. Later, watching the sunset paint the lake in amber and rose, he's struck by how different this feels. With his ex-wife, silence had felt loaded, accusations waiting, resentments festering. With Maya, silence is just peaceful. I'm happy, he says suddenly. Right now, in this moment, I'm genuinely happy. Maya squeezes his hand. Me too. For the first time since his divorce, he allows himself to believe he's not just healing from the past, he's actually building a future worth having. 13. 6 months into their relationship, a text makes his blood run cold. It's from his ex-wife's sister. Hey, I know this is out of the blue, but I thought you should know. She's in the hospital. Car accident. She's asking for you. He stares at the message, thumb hovering.
The old version of him would have rushed to her side immediately. That impulse is still there, buried beneath layers of hard-won boundaries. He's at Maya's apartment, planning to cook dinner. She notices his expression immediately. What's wrong? He shows her the message. I don't know what to do. Maya reads carefully. What do you want to do? Such a simple question. Not what he should do. What does he want? I don't know. Part of me feels like I should go. We were married for a decade. But another part knows that showing up sends a message I don't want to send. What message? That I'm still available, still her safety net, that my boundaries disappear when she needs something. He runs his hand through his hair. I worked so hard to build a life without her. Why do I feel guilty? Maya touches his arm gently. Because you're a good person. Good people feel conflicted. It's bad people who find these situations easy. What would you do? It doesn't matter what I would do. This is your decision. She pauses. But whatever you decide, I'll support it. If you need to go for closure, I understand. If you maintain your boundaries, I understand that too. This doesn't threaten us unless you let it. Her words unlock something in his chest. The fear that choosing himself might cost him Maya dissolves. He texts back. Is she going to be okay? Yes. Broken leg, some bruises. She'll recover fully. But she's shaken up emotionally. Keeps saying she needs to talk to you. There it is. She doesn't just want him there as a concerned ex-spouse. She wants something. Absolution, closure, maybe manipulation. He types carefully. I'm glad she's going to be okay, but I'm not the right person to provide comfort anymore. She has family and friends for support. I hope she recovers quickly. He shows Maya before sending. Too cold? She shakes her head. It's honest. Honesty isn't cold, it's respectful. You're being clear while still expressing basic compassion. He hits send. The sister responds, I understand. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. She needs to learn to stand on her own. That evening, he expects to feel guilty, to second guess. Instead, he feels relief, certainty. He'd chosen his growth over his guilt, his present over his past, his boundaries over his conditioning to be the perpetual caretaker. Thank you, he tells Maya over dinner, for not making that harder, for not giving ultimatums, for just letting me figure it out. That's what real partners do. They support autonomy instead of trying to control choices. 2 days later, another message, this time from his ex-wife directly. I heard you weren't coming. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. You never really loved me anyway, or you would have fought harder for us. He reads it to Maya. Her expression hardens. That's manipulative as hell. She's rewriting history, making you the villain because you won't play her game anymore. Yeah, he agrees, anger spiking before settling into something colder. If I never loved her, her betrayal wouldn't have destroyed me. And if I hadn't fought for us, I wouldn't have spent 3 years rebuilding myself. He doesn't respond to the message. She's not looking for dialogue. She's looking for a reaction. That night, lying in bed with Maya beside him, he stares at the ceiling. Despite his certainty, her words landed, not because they were true, but because they touched his deepest fear. What if he hadn't fought hard enough? You're thinking too loud, Maya murmurs. I can hear your brain spinning. He tells her about his spiral, about questioning whether his decisive action was strength or weakness. Maya props up on one elbow. When she asked for that break, what was she really asking for? Permission to explore her affair while keeping me as backup? Right. And if you'd fought, what would that have looked like? Waiting at home while she slept with another man? Competing for your own wife's attention? Begging someone who'd already chosen someone else? The images are visceral, humiliating. No. Fighting for a relationship requires 2 willing participants. She'd already left. You just had the dignity to acknowledge it and walk away. That's not giving up. That's refusing to battle alone. Her words settle something unsettled since that text arrived. He'd made the right choice then. And now? How'd you get so wise? Therapy. So much therapy, she laughs. And my own mistakes. I stayed 2 years too long thinking if I just tried harder, loved better, he'd stop being who he was. All it did was make me lose myself. But you found yourself again. We both did. Maybe that's the gift those terrible relationships gave us. They taught us what we won't accept. They showed us what we deserve. They made us strong enough to walk away from anything that doesn't honor who we've become. The next morning, Maya's making coffee in his kitchen, looking comfortable, not taking over his space, but fitting naturally into it. I've been thinking about how your ex showing up could have derailed us, created doubt or jealousy, but it didn't. You know why? Because we're both healed enough to handle it, because we trust each other and ourselves, because we've built something based on who we are now, not who we were in broken marriages. She sips her coffee. That's how I know this is real. He pulls her into a kiss that says everything words can't. Gratitude, affection, hope, trust. When they break apart, she's smiling. Ready to continue our permanent vacation from toxic relationships? He laughs. Absolutely. Where to next? Forward. Just forward. The test had come. The moment when his past could have derailed his present. And he'd passed. Not by being perfect, but by staying true to the boundaries he'd fought so hard to build. His ex-wife would recover and continue her life. I hope she found what she was looking for. But her journey was no longer his concern. His journey led forward, towards possibility, towards growth, towards a future built on authenticity and mutual respect.
2 years later, he's standing on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, camera ready, waiting for perfect light. Maya's beside him, with her own camera, experiencing the same moment but capturing different perspectives. That's become their thing. Got it, Maya says, lowering her camera. That's going on the new book cover. Her first book was a massive success. His contributed photography became iconic. Now they're creative partners in life, art, and business. His phone buzzes. An email from his real estate agent. Offer accepted. He'd put an offer on a gallery space downtown 3 weeks ago, a place for his work and other emerging photographers who need a platform. We got it, he tells Maya. Her face lights up. That's incredible. Then she studies his expression. But you look strange. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. It's just 5 years ago, I was watching my marriage implode. I felt like my life was ending. And now I'm here with you, about to open my own gallery, doing work I love, genuinely happy, not pretending, actually happy. Maya squeezes his hand. You earned this. You could have stayed bitter. You could have let what she did define you, but you chose differently. They watch the sun sink lower, painting impossible colors across the sky. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd taken her back? Maya asks. I think I'd still be miserable. We would have limped along, pretending things were fixed when they were buried. Eventually, it would have collapsed again. Do you think she's happy now? Through mutual acquaintances, he knows the basics. She's still in Boston, recently got engaged. He feels nothing about it. No jealousy, no schadenfreude, just indifference. I hope so. I hope she learned something. But whether she did or didn't, that's not my concern anymore. I have something to tell you, Maya says nervously. His heart rate picks up. What's going on? My publisher wants a book tour. 25 cities. They want you to come, to do joint presentations about visual art and narrative storytelling. They'd cover everything. Pay you. It could be amazing for the gallery launch. 3 months, 25 cities, together. The old him would have felt trapped. Now he sees it clearly. An opportunity, an adventure. When do we leave? He asks. Maya's relief is visible. You're sure? The gallery launch? He cuts her off with a kiss. I'm sure. We'll figure it out. That evening, back at the lake house, they're cooking dinner when his phone rings. Unknown number. Hello? Hi, this is awkward. It's me. His ex-wife. After more than 2 years of silence. Maya notices and mouths, Who is it? He mouths back, her. Maya's eyebrows rise, but she doesn't look worried. She simply nods, giving him space. What can I do for you? He asks neutrally. I heard about your gallery. Congratulations. That's wonderful. She sounds genuine, but wistful. I also heard you're in a relationship, that you're happy. I am. Long pause. I'm getting married next month. Congratulations, he says, meaning it. Thank you. I've been to therapy, a lot of therapy, working through everything.
My therapist suggested I apologize properly, without excuses or expectations, just acknowledging what I did and the pain I caused. He leans against the counter, watching Maya move comfortably through his kitchen. His partner, his equal, his choice. I'm listening. I destroyed something precious because I was selfish and cowardly. I hurt you deeply, then made it worse trying to manipulate you into being my safety net. You deserved so much better. Her voice cracks. I've spent years understanding why I did it. The truth is, I was broken in ways I didn't understand. But that's not an excuse, just context. This is different from her previous apologies, the desperate, manipulative ones. This feels like someone who's done the work. I appreciate you saying that, genuinely. I hope therapy is helping you become who you want to be. It is. I'm not that person anymore, and I'm grateful you had the strength to walk away because it forced me to face myself. I'm glad you found your way, and I hope your marriage is everything you want it to be. After they hang up, he stands there feeling strangely peaceful. That conversation, the one he'd needed years ago but wouldn't have been ready for, had finally happened, and it hadn't devastated him or confused him. It had simply closed a door that was already closed. Maya wraps her arms around him. You okay? Yeah, better than okay. That was closure I didn't know I still needed. What did she want? To apologize, for real this time. She's getting married and wanted to clear her conscience. He pulls Maya closer. And I realized while talking to her that I'm grateful. Not for what she did, that was terrible, but for where it led me. Because if she hadn't blown up our marriage, I never would have become who I am now. I never would have found you. Maya's eyes glisten. That might be the most emotionally mature thing I've ever heard. He laughs. It took 5 years and a lot of therapy. Later that night, getting ready for bed, Maya says, "You know what I love most about us?" "What's that?" "We chose each other from positions of strength, not weakness. We didn't need each other to feel whole. We were already whole. We just decided we'd rather experience life together than apart." He pulls her close. That's exactly right. As he drifts off, he thinks about that kitchen table 5 years ago, the 5 seconds that changed everything. If someone had told him then that her betrayal would lead to the best years of his life, he wouldn't have believed them. The pain was too raw. But here he is, not just surviving, but thriving. Not just healing, but growing. Not just moving on, but moving forward into a life richer and more authentic than anything he'd known before. The break she asked for became permanent, but instead of the end, it was the beginning of his real life. The permanent vacation continues, not as a solo journey anymore, but as a shared adventure with someone who sees him, values him, and chooses him every day. He'd taken the worst moment of his life and transformed it into the best version of himself. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is having someone stop choosing you, because it forces you to finally choose yourself. And once you do that, once you truly choose yourself, everything falls into place.